Hello everyone, this is Steven from the Even Steven channel. Today we have a slightly different kind of video today. Today's video is going to be titled, Please Stop Buying the Sig P320. Now, let's start off with the obvious. I don't have a Sig P320. And honestly at this point, I'm never going to have a Sig P320. So if you think the fact I don't physically have one on this table right now invalidates my argument, then feel free to stop watching. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I will say that I have many years of firearms experience. I am a certified pistol instructor, but I'm not a mechanical engineer. I'm not an engineer of firearms design. I'm not an engineer of any kind. Any kind of design or mechanical engineer of any kind. However, I know enough to have an opinion. So where do we start? We're going to start with this gun. This is called the Sig P250. This gun came out, this type of gun debuted around 2007. Came around 2007. Let's check that's unloaded, which it is. This is a little bit of a Frankenstein gun. However, the Sig P320, sorry, gotta keep the nomenclature correct. The Sig P250 came out around 2007, was discontinued around 2017, and it is a polymer framed, double action only, hammer fired gun. I liked it, always kind of liked it. I've had this one for a while, 5-10 years. But truth be told, it wasn't all that popular a gun. People didn't want guns like this. The trigger was kind of long, not necessarily heavy, but kind of long and a little hard to get used to. So after a few years, I think about 7 years, Sig came out with the 320. Now, funny story, I had to actually cut this out. I couldn't just leave it as a piece of paper, because if I didn't cut it out, it affects the auto brightness on my camera, so I had to cut this out. And you can see the similarities. This is like the current version of the Sig 320, the standard 320. We have very similar frames. The slide release is a little bit different. The frame is just a little bit different. But you have the takedown lever in the same place, the frame, the same general frame, same general outlines. The 320 is more or less a redesign of the P250, taking the P250 and making it a striker-fired gun. That's why if you look at the back of a Sig 320, it looks like there's a weird space there. That's because that's where the hammer was. They took this general design, kept the frame, kept the barrel, kept the magazines, and changed a lot of other stuff. They changed the fire control unit inside, which I guess I could show. They changed the fire control unit from a hammer fire system to a striker fire system, and redesigned the slide. So while they look very similar, like maybe half the parts interchange between these two guns, the P250 and the 320 are different guns. What they were trying to do was they were trying to make the P250 more like this gun, a Glock. The Glock is a striker-fired gun. Not loaded. And a striker-fired gun has a striker-fired trigger, and honestly most people just prefer that, and I understand that. And they wanted to make the P250 more like the Glock. You know, personally, I thought that took what made the P250 so interesting, and made the gun less interesting. But what do I know? So, what happened? Or what is happening? So, where we start? The 320 came out around 2014. And between 2014 and 2017, it's become very obvious that if you dropped the 320 on the back of the slide in a certain way, the gun would fire. And that's not disputed. That's not disputed. If you took a 320, dropped it on the back of the slide in a certain angle, the gun would absolutely fire. The 320 was not designed with a trigger safety, because it was a redesign of the 250. 250 doesn't have a trigger safety. 320 doesn't have a trigger safety. The Glock does. And all that does, can I force this forward? There we go. is it stops the trigger from moving when you drop it. That's all it does. That's all this thing does. This is a drop safety. This trigger safety right here is a drop safety. So if you drop the Glock on the slide, hook it apart, but if you drop the Glock on the slide, the trigger safety is going to stop the gun from going off. So even though Sig did not ever put a trigger safety in the 320, they redesigned the gun. They physically lightened the trigger. See how this trigger is so much thinner? They physically reduced the mass of the trigger and installed some kind of disconnector, which I'm not sure exactly what that means. But Sig redesigned the gun, and supposedly it solved all those problems. So, problem solved, right? Now, I would think something like this would be enough to kill any gun. If Taurus did this stuff, these guns would be in the garbage. But because Sig did it, and Sig has a good reputation, excuse me, my throat's a little hoarse there. But because Sig has a nice reputation, they kept going. And it didn't help that the U.S. military adopted the Sig 320. They didn't call it the Sig 320, they called it the M17. I will note that the M17 has a manual safety, and the Sig 320 standard does not. And I have to question whether or not the U.S. military knew something that we don't. Just saying. But yeah, that's the M17. It doesn't say P320. This is a poor printout of a piece of paper here. But it's supposed to say like Sig Sauer M17. It's actually so, the resolution is so poor that you can't read it. But again, looks very much like the 320. So that should have been it, right? That should have been the end of it. However, as time went on, there were more and more reports of the gun firing without the trigger being pulled. Now here's the thing. Typically, if someone says, oh, my gun went off, I didn't pull the trigger, they're lying. Typically. If someone says their gun went off by itself, they're typically lying. Guns don't typically do that. They're made not to. So if you have one person, it's probably, they probably did pull the trigger, the gun went off, and they were trying to cover themselves. However, there are at least 150 people who have said their Sig 320 has gone off without the trigger being pulled. And Sig has been inundated with multiple lawsuits claiming that their gun is going off randomly. And I just don't understand why people continue to buy these guns. And if you look over the summer, and I'm going to put a bunch of links in the, actually like 4 links, in the description. There's like, over the summer, there were multiple news articles about how the Sig 320 is a dangerous gun. Now, how is it a dangerous gun? I'm going to talk about that just a little bit. So on my P250, it is like mechanically impossible for this gun to go off. First of all, the hammer is resting. I don't mean to point my finger. The hammer is resting all the time. And it has like a, like a drop safety or like a trigger safety that as the gun is being pulled, as the trigger is being pulled, can I show this part? Yeah, as the trigger is being pulled, try to focus correctly, this piece goes up and the hammer goes back. And what that does, this right here is a firing pin block. So even if something strikes the back of this, I have the little crappy screwdriver here, the gun can't go off because there's a firing pin block here. So yeah, you have to simultaneously have this firing pin block down and the hammer hit. See, that went a lot further that time. Well, you can't see it because you can't see it, but yeah, that's a firing pin block. That only by pulling this trigger can you simultaneously disengage the firing pin block and cock the hammer. So if you just go like this, bam, it's not going to go off. Similarly, on the Glock, they have similar protections. See, this is a striker. This is a striker firing gun. This is a striker. That is partially cocked. And for this gun to go off, you have to disengage the firing pin block. Again, it's a firing pin block right here, which is, where is it? I don't know if I can do it. I don't think this is going to do it. I don't think this is going to work as well. It's not doing it. But again, there are internal components inside the gun that are going to push down on this firing pin block and then pull back on this, and the gun goes off. And only by pulling the trigger can you simultaneously disengage the firing pin block and pull back on the striker and then release it so it can go off. I don't know what's going on with the Sig P320. I don't know. What I surmise is there is some kind of manufacturing defect in the Sig P320 that for 1 out of every, say, 50,000 or 1 out of, say, 100,000, there's a part inside the gun that is being manufactured, or a series of parts being manufactured incorrectly, out of spec, out of tolerance, that is allowing something like this happen. This should not happen to a quality made gun. There is something wrong with either the design of the Sig P320 or the implementation of that design, the manufacture of that design. I think that's what the problem is. Sig's quality control is not up to snuff. Something is being done wrong at the manufacturing level. They're not catching it in quality control, and somehow these strikers are being released when they're not supposed to be. That has to be it. I mean, too many people have shot themselves on camera for it to not be anything else. And that's what I think it is. I think there's a manufacturing defect in the Sig P320. And I recommend that anyone who watches this video, please stop using this gun. Just stop. Just stop. Don't do it anymore. If you insist on not following those recommendations, at the very least, maybe get the manual safety model. Just saying. But honestly, just stop using this gun. And I don't know why there aren't more people talking about this, other than I'm kind of an industry outsider. You know, no one gives me stuff. No one gives me money. I'm just some guy who makes videos in my basement. I can say whatever I want. But, you know, there are people in the firearms industry, you know, these gun tubers are part of the firearms industry, and, you know, there are certain companies that have certain influence on what these people say. Otherwise, I have no idea why people aren't talking about this more. So, long story short, please stop using this gun. Does that mean you have to go run out and buy Sig P250? No, because they don't make them anymore. They don't make it anymore. But go out and buy a Glock. Go out and buy a CZ. Go out and buy a Walther PDP. God, there's just so many good companies making good guns that you don't have to buy this. Again, Glock. Even like Ruger's Security 9, SR9, all those guns are fine. Again, the CZ P10C, the Walther PDP, even the Beretta APX, the original Beretta APX and APX A1, not the carry one. My carry one was not good. But there are just so many good striker-fired, hammer-fired guns to choose from. I have no idea why anyone would go out and buy one of these. Please tell me. Please. If you think I'm wrong for any reason, please tell me why. I'm going to put links to 4 different articles in the description. I'm not making this up, and I just, for the life of me, I'm just so confused and baffled. Other than it's just money. Money, 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 money. YouTube money, industry money that I'm not getting, and I can say whatever I want. So at this point, I don't think I have anything more to add. I would like some comments. Please tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm right. I don't know. Whatever. Please like, subscribe, share. If you think that this is important information, do you have a friend who has a Sig P320? Maybe send them this video. And I think that's it. This is Steven from the Even Steven channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave in the comments. And I will see you next time. Thank you, and goodbye.